I am so glad to be sitting here today with another candidate for selectman. Actually, you've been a selectman before. I'm sitting with Susan James. Thank you for coming, Susan.
Thank you for having me.
So, Susan, I've asked some of your fellow selectmen that are running as well, why in the heck are you doing this? Again.
Again.
You're a glutton for punishment.
Well, I've learned a lot my first 3 years. I've been involved in town politics in various and sundry committees and so forth for almost the entire 38 years I've been here. Always have enjoyed contributing to the town, and when I decided to run 3 years ago, I wasn't exactly sure what I was getting into, but I felt really committed to trying to contribute in a very different way. So it's been challenging and different, but I feel like we're making progress with a lot of things, and I'd kind of like to continue that.
What do you think that you have put your stamp on? You know, what says about what's going on in the town or changes with process or whatever that Susan James kind of says, hey, I had a help in that?
Well, the public safety project, both Ralph and I were on the original public safety committee, and we're very committed to trying to improve the response times and services to all of the town. So I would say that I've contributed a lot to that. The marina, when I first got elected, I was the liaison with the SEIC, and you know, they have a lot of areas in town that they were looking at, and to me the marina seemed like a really good place to start. We all love the marina. So I was able to get the Board of Selectmen to approve the wetlands delineation down there, because if you remember, you've been here a while,
right.
they were delineated a long time ago, but so many things have changed with conservation and so on that they needed to be done again. And so once that happened, then the SEIC was able to get some grant funding from Mass Development to do that marina study. And I think it came out very well. I don't know that everybody likes every part of it, but I think we're all very...
Welcome to democracy.
Right. I think we're all very committed to the marina area.
Right.
And my real interest has been always the intersection between capital planning and financing. So I've been very aware of, and try to really do some research on how we can continue with capital projects in a way that's not going to be burdensome to the taxpayers. I don't know if we're going to be successful, but give it a try.
Well, what's your background? Because I know, I know you're a college professor, correct?
I am.
By trade.
Well, I'm actually a nurse by trade.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
So if I keel over, you can...
I think I probably could help you, yeah.
All right.
I am a nurse, and I have a master's degree in maternal child nursing, so my specialty was pediatrics.
Oh, wow.
And then I have a PhD in community health nursing. So community
Wonderful.
is really my big area of interest.
Sure.
I taught for 21 years full-time up at Curry College in Milton. I retired about 2 years ago, but I'm still teaching.
But you're still teaching.
I am still
They
teaching.
haven't found anybody to replace you yet.
They like to have me there, I think. And I write nursing textbooks,
Oh,
pediatric
wow.
textbooks, so
Wonderful.
I keep busy.
Well, see, nobody would know that about you, though. If you
Probably
look at you,
not.
you're a very unassuming person, which is a good thing, I think, because you're just doing all the hard work. And
I like to do hard work. I like to stay in the
terrific.
background.
Well, so you're running for selectman again.
Yes.
So it'd be another 3-year term,
Yes.
correct? Now, where do you want to see it all go from here? I mean, there's so many things on the plate
Yes,
of
there are.
the town.
There are.
I know the safety buildings, and now it's being broken up and a little different packaging, less money, right?
That's correct. And I just
And I don't want to
No.
When I'm wrong.
I just like to emphasize that it's a public safety plan.
I see.
And we have to really separate that from just the buildings.
Right.
So when you look at the whole town, the project that came 3 years ago was a very expensive project, but one advantage it did have was that there were 2 stations and we didn't need any extra personnel or whatever, but there were problems from the townspeople's perspective
Right.
relative to downtown not being covered the way it had been covered
Right.
before, and so forth. So back to the drawing board, we really did listen to what the townspeople had to say. So we came up with a 3-station plan for fire and EMS,
Which is less money.
which is less money, but it does require hiring people to staff that 3rd station. So
Which is in the total cost?
no.
Okay.
So you'll hear 17 million
Right.
are the numbers that we received very recently from the architect. That is for building a new substation at the corner of Quaker Meeting House Road and Katuitt, building a fire headquarters because, a police headquarters because they are really desperate.
Right.
I don't know if you've been in that building, but it's not safe.
I'm going to say this really truthfully. Thank goodness I haven't been in that building.
It's not a nice building.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been in it for other reasons. but I'm just
No,
saying
I haven't
had to be
either.
in
I
the
haven't
building.
either. Other than nice reasons where you award
Yes.
somebody something.
Right.
It's not safe for the personnel,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just overcrowded. And so the thing to remember is that when the first project failed, the Board of Selectmen asked the fire chief and the police chief and the staff to listen to everybody and to come up with a plan that was acceptable to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a plan that was acceptable to everybody. So we have a fire headquarters, I keep saying that, I'm sorry, police headquarters, a fire substation at Katuitt and Quaker Meeting House Road.
Okay, I have to stop. What happens to the police station downtown?
Okay,
You gonna knock it down?
so nothing right now,
Okay.
because we are keeping the downtown fire station open, and it very well may be that they might want to use the 2nd floor of the police
I
department
gotcha.
until there's another plan for them.
Right.
So that is going to stay open for this plan,
Mm-hmm.
and then the 3rd part of the plan is to staff the East Sandwich Fire Station.
And the Forestdale as well?
No, the Forestdale already is staffed.
Oh, that's right,
So
it
the
is.
Forestdale staff will move to the Katuitt Road, Quaker Meeting House Road
I see.
location, and Forestdale will be closed. And then East Sandwich, which the people in East Sandwich have been really, really waiting for
Well,
that
the
to be.
response time in
Yes.
that area of town
Yes.
is pretty doggone
It is.
long.
That and in South Sandwich have
Yeah.
been really problems all along. So they're going to add space to the East Sandwich Fire Station. And that space is going to be sleeping quarters so that women and men are separate sleeping quarters, and then they're going to add a shared kitchen and TV room or
Yeah.
relaxation room
Sure.
as part of that building. But the key to this is, and this is the part that everybody kind of gets very anxious about, we have to staff it.
Right.
So it takes 12 firefighters to staff one station, the way their days work and their shifts
Sure.
work. We have hired 4 already within the budget. Last year we were able to hire 4. We need another 8. And in order to get it, we have to ask for an override.
I see.
So the override would provide us with funds. The money, if the override passes, will go into the fire department budget. And then they will have continuing money enough to keep that
I see.
station going.
So what happens to the Forestdale station? It's empty?
It's empty. Unless they decide they want to use it for storage or something.
see.
I don't know whether
So
they
the
need
town
that.
wouldn't sell the building and,
The town may or may not sell the building.
see.
It would really depend on.
I mean, somebody might want to live in a fire station.
Somebody might want to live in a fire station. We have a lot of buildings in town and
Yes, you do.
that we own that would like to see used in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form,
Sure.
or sold. And
Right.
and I know it's the intent of the board to have a plan in place.
It could become a theater.
Well,
little
there you
theater.
go. It could become
It'd
a
be
theater.
a wonderful little theater.
Is it big enough for a theater?
Oh, sure it would be. With all the stuff out of it, the 2 bays, the doors down, a little stage in the end.
Wow.
Some
like
lights.
a black box theater,
Little
something
black
like
box
that.
theater.
I never would
Hey,
have
wait a
thought.
minute. So you can bring that up. Well, we're
Oh,
thinking
well,
about
that'll
a
go.
black box theater. I would love it.
I'm going to tell you said so. But anyway, that's a ways down the road.
Yeah, sure.
So so it needs to, both of them need to pass a town meeting and then again at the ballot box.
I see.
So-
And Well, and they're out there campaigning. I actually did a show with both the Chief Wack and
Yes.
Chief Carrico, and
Yes.
and they explained it very well.
Good.
You know what they're looking for, and we figured out it's $7 a month to the tax bill, which is one Venti double shot.
I was going to say, where are you going
Yeah,
with this?
one Venti double shot caramel macchiato
There you go.
Starbucks coffee.
Sounds good to me.
So, you know,
I
and
know.
this way you could actually have the police and fire show up at your door in less than
Right.
10
8 minutes,
minutes
yes,
or 8
this is
minutes,
true.
I think it is now. So,
Yes.
and it should be less than 8
Yes.
minutes for sure.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
anyway, I told them they could use that in their campaign if they wanted to.
Okay.
So.
Good. Well, we're out there talking.
It's one Starbucks coffee a month. So, and you can have the police and fire
Right.
show up.
Well, we're
so.
going to have a public hearing tomorrow night. I don't know if
Yeah.
Ralph told you that.
Yeah.
And so hopefully people will come
Yeah.
and ask their questions. People have been asking questions
Oh,
all
yeah.
along. I've been sending them off to the chiefs and to
Yes.
Doug Laff, the assistant town manager, and
For
we've been getting the
sure.
questions answered.
Sure.
So, and we're getting back to people. So
Good, good.
we're doing what we can.
Right, right. Well, people should be informed.
Right.
And then people have to show up to town meeting, which
That's
drives
true.
me crazy. And I was laughing. I laughed yesterday when I was talking with them because I said to them, I sat there a year ago in town meeting and I was one of the counters.
Oh, yes.
Which was kind of funny. But we passed the budget. I think it was $30 million.
every
Nobody said anything.
year.
And then they argued over a $10,000 piano for like an hour, and it was like, oh, for goodness sakes.
But you know, that's town democracy for you. You know, I was chair of the finance committee in the late 1980s, and it just blew my mind that
Right.
nobody would ask any questions about the budget. And
I
I
know.
don't, other than maybe 1 year when money was really tight and an
Right.
override failed, we had to go back. I don't remember anybody asking money questions about the budget.
It is an amazing human trait.
It is. It is. On the other hand, I guess maybe they trust their local officials to do a
sure.
good job with it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And if they don't say anything, don't complain about it.
oh,
is
I'm
my
not complaining.
theory.
Believe me.
So your specialty, you know, I talked to Ralph, and he had kind of a specialty. the
He
things that-
does.
and you know that he wants to see. What about yourself? Do you have a specialty? I know the other, you know, selectmen all have kind of a feeling about what they want, you know, they want to do.
Well,
the
again, to get
future.
back to the capital
Yeah.
stuff, I also was on the Capital Improvement Planning Committee for a
Mm-hmm.
while, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to be able to really build a municipal building or a council on aging or
Right,
whatever, you
right.
know, kind of over the long term. And a whole bunch of us took a trip out to Holden, which is a small town up in
Oh, I know where it
Runnet,
is.
that's where it is. But
the same size
they
as
had something
Sandwich.
that was very interesting, and they called it an infrastructure investment fund. And what it was they acquired money. They had to change state law actually to do this through an override, which they then invested in a fund, and the fund kept growing.
Like
And
the stock market investment?
no, well, however the town
Whatever they
treasurer
decide
would invest
in.
invest
Right,
funds.
right, okay.
There are restrictions on it.
I'm
I don't
sure
think
there
it's stock
probably is.
market.
Yeah, well, it's the only thing I would know of.
Yeah.
So.
And so that always kind of intrigued me. So when I got back, when I was elected to this job, I thought maybe we needed to do a little bit more research on that. So I found a piece of legislation which was actually passed in 2004, and I didn't know about it. So I don't know how I overlooked it. But it's called a special purpose capital stabilization fund. And it's kind of the same principle where you can put money into a fund. It can only be used for the purpose for which the fund is established. And you can invest that money. You can spend some of it and keep the rest in so the money keeps piling
Building.
up.
Right.
And so I did the research on it, and I brought it to the board. The board seemed pretty excited about it. The question was going to be, okay, so where do we get the money to fund it in the first place? So that is still a point of discussion, and I'm really hoping we can bring it up very early in our year next
In the
year.
year coming up, which is July 1st, right?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really, I would really like to be involved with that. The other thing is, I really think, and you may have heard this from others as well, you know, our town is pretty stable population-wise, and the demographics are obviously changing.
We're skewing older.
We
a lot
are
older.
absolutely skewing older. There was a time there where almost everything got put into the school district, which was appropriate for the time. And I think it's time to to look at the whole budget, the whole goals. What are our priorities? Do they need to change?
Sure.
Because the demographics are changing. If they do, how do we affect that?
Well, I always have laughed since I've been here 2 years less than you. You've been here 38 years,
Yes.
Is that correct? I've only been here 36.
Okay,
I'm
long
a
enough.
newbie.
Long enough.
We're both newbies, according
Yes.
to everybody who's been
Yes.
here forever. But I always thought it was odd because I come from the Midwest.
Oh.
You know, so in the Midwest, there's like one big budget, and they have school boards. They don't have committees. It's a school board,
Right.
which regulates the school. But it's basically they all work together all year long to do all this.
Right.
But when I came here, it was here's the school committee and here's the town, and they go along on their paths, and then they collide
If you will.
at town meeting. And it used to be more collision than there is now, maybe, but there was collision.
Yes.
So I always thought that was an odd
Yes.
thing.
Well, some of it's different states have different regulations,
Sure.
and you know how much. For example, my daughter and my sister both live in Virginia, and they have a county system.
Right, well, that's what I came from.
So their schools and their county, it's all one
Right.
one budget. Whereas here, we don't really have a county system. I mean,
Right.
Barnstable County, but we don't have a county
No,
system like
every
they do.
town is for himself.
Right. So the state essentially determines how the schools are regulated.
Right.
And because our school committee is elected, they have independence.
Right.
So they are not answerable to the Board of Selectmen.
Right, right, I knew that.
So,
I wonder if
so-
I hope everybody knows that. So state that again.
Okay, so we have an elected school committee, and their responsibility is the schools. They essentially own the schools, even though the town built them.
And they're unpaid.
They
as-
are unpaid.
As basically the selectmen are here. It's,
Yeah,
you
we
know,
get a little stipend.
right.
So the school committee is elected, and they supervise the superintendent.
I see.
And they make all of the policy decisions
I see.
for the school department.
I see.
They are not, they don't come under the Board of Selectmen or any other town
And that's
agency.
a state regulation or
Oh,
a
yes.
town? It's state regulation.
Oh, yes, that's a
I
state
see.
regulation.
I
It's
see.
all over the state.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So it behooves us to work together
Sure.
with them, but there's always a little bit of tension because, of course, their priority is
the
the
school.
children and
Right,
their
right.
education and
Right.
and so on. And our priority is the municipal services and
Right.
and so on. But I think it's time we looked at the whole thing because what's starting to happen, I think, is when you look at the different budgets from a finance point of view, you think, well, you know, the population has decreased in the school department and it's increasing in the elderly. Maybe we need to look at that. So rather than do it piecemeal,
Right.
I would really like to see us all do it together.
So do you work together with the school committee now or no?
We
You
by our-
don't meet ever, do you? Or
Oh,
do you?
yes, our charter requires us to meet
I see.
twice, I think it is. So we meet in June,
Right.
and we kind of chat about what might be budget
Is that a
assumptions.
public meeting or?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
public meeting.
What might be budget assumptions and all
Right.
of that. And then we meet again in December.
I see. For upcoming, what?
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do get together, but
Oh,
I
that's
think we need to get together.
A little more.
Not as a subcommittee, but really more globally than that. And I think not just us. I think we need to bring in some of the other the planning board, for example,
Sure,
who's
sure.
sort of in charge of the long-range plan,
Right.
local comprehensive plan, and any other interested stakeholders.
And our local comprehensive plan was done quite a while ago, wasn't it?
The last iteration was 2010, I believe. I was on that committee.
So that's a long time
The first one
ago.
was 1996,
Right.
and I was on that.
Yeah.
I did the economic development piece
Oh, good.
for that.
Yeah.
And then in 2010, they took my economic development piece and updated it and rolled it
Right.
into the 2010,
Oh, that's good.
the 2010 iteration.
But in 6 years, though, a lot changes.
Absolutely, lots have changed. Even 6 years ago, no one would have thought that the school population would decrease as much as it has.
Right, right. And now we have school choice, which is another whole issue.
That's another whole issue. And,
Right.
and you have to remember there are two different types of school choice.
I know there are. I know there are. I know there are.
So-
I will go on record, though, as saying I had 3 children graduate from Sandwich High School.
As did I.
And went through the school system. One of them from kindergarten, or 2 of them from kindergarten on. And they are all 3 incredibly successful,
Yes.
went to college. And I attribute that to their basic start at Sandwich High School, although all of us occasionally can
Yeah.
get cranky about
Oh, yes.
something that happens at the school or whatever.
yes,
Or a couple
absolutely.
of mom calls
That's
here
right.
and there. However, they did very well, and I think supporting our public schools is so very
Yeah,
important.
I think it really is very important
that's
because
what we're
if you
based on.
start fracturing it too much,
Right.
then it becomes a different culture in the public schools.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And I'm not sure that's for the best.
Yes, I agree with you there. So tell me about Susan James.
Oh gosh.
Who are you? Susan James, who are you?
Who am I? Well, I don't know what you want to know. I'm a mother.
Okay, how many kids?
I have 3.
You have 3 kids?
I do. And
And where are they now?
all
Are they
right,
grown up?
my oldest is a molecular biologist.
Oh, geez, Louise.
And he and his wife, who's a biochemist, live in Seattle, Washington.
Oh, you got great trips.
Yep, we do. Seattle's beautiful.
I know it is. I
And
love
we
it.
have a 7-year-old grandson who's
Nice.
theirs.
You don't
who's
see enough
a budding
of-
scientist.
Yeah?
We Skype him once in a while.
Oh, that's good.
And then our middle child is living on the Cape.
Mm-hmm.
She, right now, works at Hems While You Wait in Hyannis.
Which is
It's like a
sewing?
tailoring
Yeah.
shop. Yep.
Oh my
She-
God, so she's talented too.
Oh, she's very personable and outgoing,
oh, that's
and she
great.
doesn't sew, but she
Oh, so she takes care of
she
the front
takes
end.
care of the front end.
I gotcha.
And her son is 14, and he lives with us.
Oh, okay.
So we've been bringing up
Wonderful.
Scott.
Yeah.
And then our youngest is
That's what keeps you young, you
oh,
know.
oh yeah. Well,
We
14.
have our grandkids
Do you
a
remember
lot, too.
14?
Yeah. Well, we've got a 13-year-old now,
Oh.
our son Ben, and we get them a lot because they own a restaurant.
Sure,
So when
sure.
they own restaurants, they're
Oh,
working all
yeah.
the time.
Oh,
so
yes.
we are fortunate to
Right.
have them a lot, and then our daughter Tess, we have her kids a lot.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
So, and then our youngest is a systems analyst, and
wow.
she went to school at Virginia Tech and never came back and didn't ever want to come back to New England again. So she lives in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, that's a beautiful town.
It's
though.
beautiful.
I bet you she comes back to visit.
Not as much as I would like to see her come back to.
But another nice place to
Yes,
visit.
and we
Yeah,
do
that's
go
good.
down. My sister lives there as well, so
Oh,
we
that's
go
wonderful.
down. So that's my family, and my husband is a retired superintendent of schools, which is probably why I can tell you about the school
Sure,
systems.
sure.
And
Behind every great woman, there is a
there
man.
we go. Yes, this is true, and he's a very supportive man, I have to say.
That's wonderful.
And as I said, I am a nurse, and that is really my background.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a focus in community health, so community means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think of Sandwich, I think of a community, and that's sort of how I operate.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, we all know that, and it's an unfortunate thing, but Sandwich has been saddled with the thought process that the taxes are too high.
Yes.
And they are, in some cases, 30% more than
Yes.
surrounding towns.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go, well, we don't even have trash pickup. I mean, that's always, that's the leap. I mean, it's a funny leap, but oh my
okay.
God, the taxes are so
can
high.
understand that.
Oh, we don't even have trash pickup.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's kind of one of those things. Where do you see that going? Because, you know, and realtors have issues with that.
Oh, of course they do.
You know?
Of course they do.
You know, you can sell a town because it's historic and it's beautiful and it's lovely. You know, so where are we going to get around that, you think?
Well, that's an interesting question. Part of the reason that Sandwich's tax rate is as high as it is, and we have to sort of separate that out.
Right.
Because that's what people compare. They compare the
Right.
tax rate.
Right, that's correct.
Is because decisions were made many years ago.
Long before Susan James?
No, even
Oh,
no,
okay,
no,
sorry.
nope. Since we lived in town,
Yeah.
decisions were made to try to restrain the population growth, and one way to do that, excuse me, was to purchase open space.
Oh, yes. Yeah, of
So,
course.
Sandwich has some beautiful
Yes, we
conservation lands and open space and so on, but in doing that, there's very little space left for economic development.
Right.
So if you think of Mashpee or Falmouth or Barnstable, they've all got enormous amount of economic development, which Sandwich does not have. We were subsidized, as you know, by the power plant.
Right, for years.
For years, subsidized our tax rate. And then when the state changed the way of assessing the power plant, that
Sure.
you know, put much more responsibility on the taxpayers. So we talk a lot about economic development, and certainly I would love to see economic development. I told you I wrote the
Right.
economic development sections for the long range, the local comprehensive plan. Realistically, I don't think there's anywhere for us to do large-scale economic development that's really going to have an impact on the taxes. We're hoping, the Board of Selectmen has really been working very hard as a board to support efforts to work with NRG, who, you know, as you know, is building that solar farm down
Right,
there and
which
has
is
gotten approvals for that, and the goal is to repower that plant.
Right.
And that will make a huge impact. The question is going to be, what are we going to do with that impact? Because
Right.
what that does is it adds money to what we call our new growth, because it's going to be a
Right,
big
right,
assessment.
right.
And so there are different philosophies about what we would do with that. My preference would be to take some of it and put it into
that
this fund.
I knew where you were going. We've done a complete circle.
That would be my my preference, but I'm only one member of the board.
Right.
Short of that, we're paying off debt.
Right.
So, and I think I said this a couple of weeks ago at the Selectmen's meeting, we have a bond rating that's excellent, but just like your own credit card,
Right.
Your credit score is better if you have more than one credit card and you
Right.
spend more than one credit card. Our debt is going down, and if we don't take on some new debt, it's going to be looked as if it was a single credit
Right,
card.
right.
And that will eventually probably affect our bond rating.
Right.
So taking on a little new debt as the old debt drops off is actually a good plan. It doesn't sound like a good plan to people because, of course, then you have to pay interest on it and so on. But it really is, for the overall health of the town, it's a good plan. So this town meeting, we're going to have 3 questions. One of them is going to ask for us to add more money to the tax base for 1 year. That's the roads. The second one is going to be the buildings part of the plan.
Right.
And that is a debt exclusion. So that means we would take that debt and we would bond it over 25 years. And unlike your mortgage, which kind of stays the same every month,
Yeah.
over the years of a debt exclusion, the principal actually goes down.
right.
So you see a downward sort
You
of
hope that
slant.
happens with your mortgage, too.
Yeah, well, it doesn't change the monthly payment.
No, it doesn't change the monthly pay.
So, so that does tend to go down.
Yeah.
So as debt goes down and you take on new debt, you can stabilize it a little.
I see.
I think the real reality is that our tax rate will continue to go up by the 2.5% that is allowable.
Right.
And I think as long as we continue to require increased services, if you can look at our tax rate and you can look at our
Right.
what's available, we can't afford trash pickup.
Right. Right.
So there are things that we've never been able to afford
Right.
that probably never will be able to afford.
Right. Right.
So we do the best we can
With what you got.
with what we got.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, you are a bright lady, and it's so
Thank you.
wonderful to talk to you and catch up.
well, thank you. It is. It's nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I want to wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate
Good
that.
luck.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.